Alert, alert, this is Charlotte Shotgun.
It's Joel Tatum, and it's that Little Gay Talk Show.
All the way from Houston, Texas.
Let's get into it, girl. Hello, everyone. It's Joel Tatum. I am here in the studio by myself. I'm actually doing a Zoom interview with Clayton Young. Say hey, hello, Clayton.
Hey.
Okay. And Scott and Miss Charlotte Shotguns. She's
here.
yeah, she's not feeling well, so we're doing a three-way Zoom here, and we hope that you guys can hear us. And I think this is going to be a really good episode. We're going to have a lot of fun. And Charlotte, what's going on with you, girl?
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I started my own little jockstrap company within the past 2 days, and it's been pretty poppin'.
Mm-hmm.
I just did it because my friend asked me to make him a jockstrap because we went to a fabric store and we saw a bunch of cool things. He's like, "Can you make a jockstrap with like these two things?" I'm like, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
Then I posted it, and then I was like, I wanted to make a jockstrap for myself, and then I posted that as well, and it kind of just got some attention from everyone. And I'm over here open for business now. I actually had to call a friend of mine that lived in Los Angeles because I didn't know how to sew underwear. And I'm like, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? And literally, I sat on the phone with them for 2 hours yesterday, and they gave me like a lesson on how to do stitching. Certain kinds of stitches and how to like make the raw areas of a underwear closed off so they don't hurt the body. So
what?
It was like
so they don't hurt what part of? So they don't hurt what part of the body?
Mostly the balls because I have to make a cup for like the whole sack and everything. And I didn't know that you're supposed to close off the seams, or else like if a thread sticks out or something, it could like scratch the skin or something. So I had to, I learned something new. Didn't know that was a thing.
What are you using, fishing wire down there? I mean, what kind of thread could possibly scratch? You have to use.
I am using clear wire. And clear wire is a lot thicker than regular, I guess.
Oh, okay, I get you.
It's just because some of the designs that people, they want like this logo on the waistband, and I sewed through it with the regular like black thread, and then I did a white thread, and you could still see it. It just looks super unprofessional. So I did clear thread, and it just completely like you can't even see it. It's crazy. But it is a lot harder to work with. It is like sewing with like fishing wire though. It's just as like the same material. Everything is like super hard and like, know. But there it is. It's happening. Right now I'm just making jock straps to like, help me like, pay off my rent.
I'm sorry. You know what? That sounds more productive than what I did all day, which is take a nap. Go to Starbucks, clean up the house a bit because I thought somebody was coming over, and and that's about it for the day. So, as everybody knows, I am not back at work yet. We have not opened officially, so I'm not back at work yet. I heard that we might, but I'm not sure when. I'm hoping. Probably by the end of September. So that's what's going to be happening. So you've been sewing jock straps. I've just been chilling, playing on the computer. Got a new iPad and just started playing games, and then I just got myself lost. So that's all that's going on. So we have a guest on the show. His name is Clayton Younkin. Am I pronouncing that right? Younkin, yes. Clayton Younkin, who is creative director, executive producer, I'm guessing. And are you executive producer? I can say executive producer, right?
Sure.
Yes,
sure.
Exactly. Of some animated adventures, which we'll be discussing here in a minute. I cannot wait because it sounds from the description, it just sounds like I said, it sounds complicated but fun. And I'm surprised because you said it was mostly for children, and I'm thinking, wait, there's a lot of adult themes. So, Clayton, why don't you just give everybody in the audience a brief summary of who you are, first of all?
Sure. So my name is Clayton Younkin. I am originally a Dallas native, but relocated to Houston for work. I'm a theater director. I've been working as an actor since 2007, 2008, and have kind of made the transition to more behind the scenes, directing, stagecraft, design, and I found that I really enjoyed it. So during quarantine and a little bit before, I wanted to kind of venture out into new territories and take on new projects that I've never tried before.
Mm-hmm. And now we're wait a minute. So yeah, this is amazing because you went from acting to jumping into animation. That's not an easy jump, by the way. I mean, you're jumping from one complicated thing into another thing that's even more involved and more complicated. What made you decide, I'm going to do anime?
I always like kind of trying new things and adding new skills to my, wheelhouse. And for me, it wasn't that difficult of a jump.
Okay.
I've always liked to kind of draw and doodle around. And when I was going to college for theater, I had to take some design classes for costuming. And so it was in those classes that I learned how to draw, proportionate human bodies. And I learned to, design clothes. And I'm terrible at sewing.
Okay.
So,
in that department.
But I've always kind of liked designing, costumes, and also just a lot of like world building. I used to play a lot of like tabletop RPGs and things like that, where you get to kind of create this narrative experience. So I thought, why not meld the two and create a narrative experience in design as well. So, it started off by me doing some fan art for some other shows, and I used that as kind of practice, and been working on that for the last about 9 months now.
And is this going to be mostly computer animation, or is that where we're
for this show, I learned really quickly that animation, like full animation, hand-drawn animation, is very time-consuming. It took me an entire weekend to get about 30 seconds of animation. Non-stop. So there will be fully animated segments that are repeated kind of throughout the series. And then there will be a lot of static images with animated elements. So it's going to be like a hybrid animated show / motion comic.
Motion comic. Explain that a little bit more in detail.
Sure. So a motion comic is, think of like reading a comic book. And each panel may have, some vibrant images, explosions, or gunshot, that descriptive text that goes along. Those would be animated sequences in the show itself. So static images with some animated other things going on.
Well, I as like I said, and I know that there will probably be a few of my fellow gay nerds out there. I'm kind of getting what you're saying. It kind of reminds me of I don't know if you it was an animated comic, I think about maybe 2 or 3 years ago, The Astonishing X-Men. That yes. I think yes. Are we going down in that realm of?
Yeah, kind of. Definitely not as highly produced because I don't have a.
Well, of course not. But
I read The Astonishing X-Men when it first came out. The Job Run. And when I saw the motion comic, it just kind of added a new layer to the story that you don't get just immersed by reading it.
I almost said Chris Claremont. It's actually Josh Whedon who did the animated comic book thing, the Astonishing X-Men. So just to clarify that, like I said, I almost said Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont is like a genius in the comic book world when it comes to.
Claremont was the best on X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. I actually watched an interview. I think they did a documentary. I think it's on
Amazon Prime?
Yes, it's on Amazon Prime. I almost said Netflix, but it's on Amazon Prime. Amazing. I mean, the think tank in there at Marvel Studios was, I wished I could be like, I wish I was old enough because I would have been more of a writer. I'm not much of a, not much into drawing stuff, but I mean, just to be in that room with those guys, the men and women at Marvel at that time would have just been, it would have blown my mind. Yeah. It would have just completely blown my mind. So, we need to, wait, what is the, we got into, well, basically your story and how you jumped into, animation, which, like I said, it just seems so a complicated thing to like really jump into. I mean, planning process. I mean, please share with us the creative planning process that it went into.
It was like the first thing that you had to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So it all started December of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I had on, and I was doodling around in my iPad, and I was watching Blade Runner, the original.
Mm-hmm.
And
Clayton, I don't want to interrupt. I just want to interject here real quick. December 2019. Those were the good times. By the way, those were the good times. That was before. Just to remind our audience out there. Okay, COVID has not been going on for 10 years. Okay.
Be kind of normal. And so I was doodling around on my iPad, and so I was watching Blade Runner, and I was, designing characters from this cyberpunk world. And so I did one, and I was like, okay, let's do another. So eventually I ended up having like 5 or 6 done. And I kept looking back at them, and I was thinking, okay, what's the story here with these people? And so it evolved from me just kind of doodling around to giving them character names. And okay, well, what kind of world do they live in? And so then I started thinking about, plot structure and location. And, we'll dive into the plot in a little bit because, like you said, it's complicated but fun. And so eventually before I knew it, I had this kind of like skeleton framework of a story idea. I ran it by one of my former students. I keep in touch. I'm a theater director and teacher, and I talk to lots of my former students on occasion. And I ran it by them, and they were like, wow, this could actually be a thing. So after that, then I, started developing more and fleshing out these characters and the backstory and this universe that, I've been living in the past, 8-9 months now, to the point where it's evolved into this project that we're currently in.
Yeah.
Leave it to an actor to take something so simple as a little doodle and turn it into a world. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a doodle. I'm sorry, I didn't mean doodle, but taking a sketch and go, what kind of world does he live in? Well, who is this person? Blah blah blah. I mean, that's definitely an actor from an actor's point of view. That's
yeah, it's that kind of character development process you go through as an actor. Because, when you get a role, you have to kind of figure out, okay, who is this person? What is their objectives? All that stuff. And so now I'm just doing it from a bigger spectrum, looking at like the big picture of every character. And the most difficult part was the sketches were pretty detailed. And so it had to be, okay, if this is a character that I'm going to draw over and over and over again in different poses, different things, I've got to make it, more streamlined because there's each of those sketches took like a day a piece.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of clean it up and streamline it so that it was something that I could do pretty quickly. And on a good day, if I'm just drawing on a good day, I can get about 8 or 9 done.
It's crazy that you say that because I've always wondered why like characters never wore different clothes. I could see why, because you put all this work into it.
A couple costume changes. Just because those clothes are going to stink if they're in it for 40 some odd episodes. There's a couple costume changes, and also just to kind of vary it up and show past and now it's to the point where I've drawn them so many times that I don't need to go back and reference some of my earlier drawings to think of where is this fold going to fit in the jacket, and where I've done it so many times now, it's pretty natural.
And how are we transferring? Now, I know that you probably had to learn maybe a program in order to transfer from physical to digital. So when I did costume design at school, I learned all. Our costume design teacher was adamant about nothing was digital. She was real old school. Hand sketch everything out. Yes.
And everything had to be painted, not marker or anything like that. It had to be hand painted when you turned in your design renderings. And when I started doing the fan art, that's when I started learning digital. And it was difficult at first because I was so used to blending physical mediums and digital mediums. They can have a certain aesthetic. They can. You can have a brush that looks like a pencil or looks like, a paintbrush, but it doesn't blend like a physical.
Well, yes, of course.
So my early digital attempts, let's say they are not the best. Like a step up from like a 5-year-old with crayons. But as I started drawing on this show, it got better and better, and now I'm at a level where I'm comfortable enough to kind of put it out there.
You realize that eventually you're going to have to get a team to do that for you.
I as executive producer, and I've been kind of funding this whole endeavor. If I could afford a team to do this, I would.
I can tell you, as someone who is who's doing podcast and has to invest in equipment and learn new stuff and new programs and all this other stuff, I feel your pain. I completely feel your pain, because I just honestly, when I first started podcasting, my first thought was, you hook up a microphone to a computer and you call, and that's it. It's a lot more. It is a lot more than that. So I've had to learn a few things along the way. So I feel your pain, and everything I had to do out of pocket.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I had to do everything.
We've got a composer out of New York who's working on some music for us.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. Done some really good work. And then we've got a 3D artist. I think he's based in Venezuela that I found online. And then I'm paying the actors as well, because I haven't been an actor. I can't pay them much, but having some sort of compensation for your work, I think, is important. So my budget is already kind of maxed out as far as how much I can invest in this, unless we get another stimulus check. Then,
Look,
I'm
just glad to be getting my little unemployment check until I go back to work right now, because right now, like I said, It has helped me though, because I've been able to invest more money back into my show and everything else. And actually, if it was, I can't believe I'm saying this. If it wasn't for COVID, I probably wouldn't have met Scott, who has literally come in and took a guy who was about to close down his show because I had gone through so much stuff. With this show, I had when I first started this show, and I don't want to get back into me. I'm sorry. we still have plenty of time. It'll still be all about you. Don't worry, Clayton. It's still gonna be about you, but I feel like that I'm talking to someone who understands when you decide to do something and you put your work into, you put your heart and soul into it, and a lot of things go wrong. And you have to deal with things that you've never dealt with before. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but, having to deal with other people and dealing with, you're an actor. I'd like to say that I'm a creative person. I used to be a writer a long time ago, but then I stopped doing it but we're not going to get into that. But the fact of the matter is that, dealing with other creative folks sometimes is not the easiest thing to do. I have learned that lesson quite well. So I understand, and just to jump into something and to try to make it happen. You know what? I'm so proud of you, Clayton. I feel like I'm. You know what? I don't know. I'm having a fatherly moment here. I just feel so proud of you.
One of those things where you come to a point, at least for me, I came to a point when I was in the early stages of it. If I had to think, is this something I'm willing to invest my time in? And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I've always kind of thought about, starting a YouTube channel, starting this, but I never really just kind of dove into it. And it was one of those things where it's like, shoot or get off the pot. If we're going to do it, let's do it. And so we quickly rounded up our cast and got things kind of set in stone.
And if I didn't say this before, Scott, you are also included in that, because this is how when I sat down with Scott, same thing here. just create a person who, jumps into stuff, gets it done, that kind of thing. And we're peas in a pod. It's like three peas in a pod. We're all out here doing the things that we love to do, but it's hard. And, you kind of have a little bit on us, because you kind of have a little bit of a support system because you're married. And, so you can be able to tell your husband, fuck all these people, I don't want to do this anymore, blah, 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 blah.
It's like when he gets home, I'm propped up in the bed with the iPad already out. And again. Don't get me wrong, he is super supportive and really happy for me, that I'm but I had to, actually in the beginning, it was taking up so much of my time because I was just trying to go nonstop that I was neglecting my relationship. So I had to find times where it's like, okay, put the work away and, make sure you stay in reality.
How long have you been married, by the way?
We actually had a quarantine wedding.
Oh my God.
So we've been together for 5 years.
Oh, good for you.
5 years going on 6.
Which in gay years is about 40 years.
Yeah. And we planned on getting married. I proposed actually December of 2019. No, 2018. 2018. Yeah. And we saved up for a wedding. We were going to have this kind of big blow up wedding, and paid the deposit. And we decided, you know what, it's going to be so much money that we're spending on this that actually a house payment.
Oh wow.
So we decided we were going to elope. So we kind of put aside our little nest egg, and we were going to look at buying a house or moving or whatever. And it kind of worked out, as we were supposed to get married in April, and that's right in the middle of when the shutdown happened. And so we would have gotten money anyways. So yeah, we got married in our apartment complex. It runs right by Buffalo Bayou or White Oak Bayou here in Houston. So it was just us and our neighbor, and
That's
so good.
That's so romantic. That's so. As some of the kids say, that's so romantical. Right? I mean, wait, how did you get someone who was? How did you get a minister or officiant out there to?
Actually, so I called my dad. My dad is a wedding officiant.
Wow.
Like, hey, do you know anybody in Houston that would be willing to come out? And he found someone, and she was out the next day. And
oh wow, that's awesome.
So I mean, you didn't have to stand 6 feet apart from your husband. Oh my goodness. Well, it just, I mean, my God, I feel like, wow, I think we need to take a break, because I'm like, I'm like completely verklempt. Because, it's, I feel like I said, I knew that this episode was really going to be good, because I felt like I found like kindred spirits, when you start a project and, all that other stuff, and you really want to put your soul into it and everything else, and then you have to deal with all the crap that goes along with it. And well, the beautiful thing is with my situation, which is way different from yours, Clayton, is the fact that I'm surrounding myself with some really good friends. And when I'm like laying in bed going, I'm not getting out of bed, I hate everyone, leave me alone. When your friend comes walking into your house going, bitch, get your ass out of bed and get back to work. You got so much shit to do, it's ridiculous. So, yes. In a way, I we all have our support where we can get it. And like I said, when you start a new venture, you're a lot younger than I am. So when you start a new venture, it's a little bit more exciting. When you're older and you start a new adventure, it's the most nerve-wracking thing on the planet, because you've been so used to doing things a certain way for so long. And I realized that I have ways. I did not, I never thought that I'd get to the age where people will go, Joel, you have your ways. No, I don't. Stop saying that to me. I don't have ways. How dare you? But I guess when you get older, you kind of get ways. So, yeah. So, when you're jumping back in creative fields, it really is the most nerve-wracking thing on the planet. It's the most enjoyable, though. Oh my God, you enjoy every moment of it. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, because two things are happening here. We've almost reached the 30-minute mark, and because I decided not to upgrade to Pro on Zoom, Zoom is like, you only have 1 minute left. So everybody's going to have to call back. And then we're gonna start the next part of the show, and we're really gonna really now gonna get into your show and really start talking about it, the characters, all this other stuff, and how you're gonna really wow us with your, because I'm like I said, I'm a nerd, and if I like something, I latch onto it. So. All right, so you're gonna have to convince me, as someone who is probably going to be watching your show, why you are going to stand out. So we're gonna take a little bit of a break, and there we go. And the Zoom meeting has ended. So we're gonna be right back, everybody, and we'll see you in a bit. And we're back. And before I get into it, before me and Miss Charlotte get back into it, we are going to. I want to send out a shout out to Big Daddy Karsten, because I keep mispronouncing your name, and I'm sorry. He was the rapper. Clayton, he was the the Norwegian rapper we had on last week. Okay. And his name is spelled Karsten. And I kept saying Karsten, but in, I want to say Norwegian. In Norwegian, it's actually pronounced Korsten.
Kristen.
So
maybe that's what it's like supposed to be, like American wise. Christian.
Yeah, exactly.
Kristen.
Yes, so we're on a move here to like get Americans to learn how to pronounce his name. Go to the website if you really want to hear he's an amazing rapper. He really is. And if you want to go to our website, thatlittlegaytalks.com, that's not for you, Clayton. That's for everybody out there in the listening world. Although you can do that too. Go out and listen to his music on our webpage, and go to YouTube because he's an amazing rapper. By the way, Clayton, if you need a rapper, I'm just throwing it out there. If you need a rapper, he's the one. Yeah, Big Daddy, he's the one. So we're gonna get back into it because we're having so much fun. I'm here with Clayton Younkin, creator, executive producer, Neon Lights, which we did not mention the name of before. And let me and now that we're in the second half, we can really get into the story, the name of the show, the story, everything that you wanna sell us about this anime. Because although I will say this, do you really think this could be a children's anime? Because I'm not really seeing children. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear.
Okay. I know that you said you wanted to direct this a little bit more towards kids. But what age?
I think I misspoke a little bit. It's definitely all ages. One of the things I had to be very careful about when writing the show was the COPPA guidelines, which is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act.
Yes, of course.
So I had to be really cautious about language that was used and whatnot. And so there's definitely like suggestions and innuendo and things like that, just to kind of skirt those guidelines. But the superhero genre, it definitely appeals to that younger crowd. But definitely the content, the underlying themes that are present throughout, I think will be appealing to adults. Okay. So, yeah, I think I misspoke when I said it's geared towards kids. No, it's really geared towards all ages. And I think people of any age would be able to find something to appreciate within the show.
Well, yeah, I think that when I think I kind of got what you said earlier. I think when I said kids, I'm thinking 14 and up, maybe. That's what I was thinking, because some of the anime that I have watched on Netflix and that kind of stuff have been geared towards teenagers and up. Not really. I mean, anything. If I'm watching anything younger than that, those things are. I need to have a conversation with somebody, except for She-Ra, which I quite enjoyed. I know that was geared towards
different though. She-Ra's different.
Yeah, She-Ra was a little bit different. I'm like, okay,
it's a gay show. It's a gay kids show.
Can I say this? The only reason that I watched She-Ra to begin with was because everything that I read was about the fact that, and I can't understand why this came from straight men. Everything that I read about this show, about the fact that she wouldn't be wearing her little shorty skirts, and she wouldn't have her things out and everything else. She would, she'd be wearing pants, and all these straight men are like, that's not the She-Ra I grew up with. The She-Ra I grew up with, and it made me think, you guys are grown ass men. Why are you trying to turn a cartoon? Why are you trying to sexualize a cartoon that was made for kids?
Right.
So I had to watch it just because I'm like, ugh, let me see what this is all about. But then I got into the story and it turned out really good. So
whole thing is a very good show. I think so.
Yeah, it's a very good. It's a very good show. But we're gonna get back into Neon Lights. But the thing is that I know that this is going to be LGBTQ IA kind of thing. So how are we going to work these themes into this show and make them more mainstream, so to speak?
Sure. So one of the big things that I was very cognizant of when I was creating the characters and fleshing out this world and everything involved with that was representation, and how anybody that watches the show should find somebody that either they can identify with or look up to. Mm-hmm. As a gay man, having gay characters was important to me, and not just. With any of them, not just have them in to kind of have them be a checkbox character to say, okay, we've got our gay character, we've got our black character, our Asian character. No, it was really important that we had authentic representation. So when writing out the gay characters, I tried to make it from a naturalistic standpoint that, it's not like they're in the closet and their coming out story is part of their character arc, which that may be for some people, but I wanted it to be more open and accepting and just kind of a common thing in this world. Yeah. Because that's where I would like to envision it being in. But then when I started writing, other characters, of different ethnicities, we had already had our cast in place, and I had to go to them. I said, okay, how do you want me to approach this, writing this character? Because my viewpoint, my perception is extremely limited as a cisgendered white gay man. So I had to get their perspective too. And get their input. And once they read the script, I said, okay, what is working? What do I need to change? Is this character acceptable to you? So that was a really big, important for me part of the process.
Okay. That's very cool that you did that you asked for feedback, and I really do appreciate you, because I feel like sometimes you see stuff on TV and the character they give them is just so it's like a cliche character, and you took it to a whole nother step, and you ask them what is your character like? How are you like? How can this character relate to you?
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Well, I think that now when we start to focus more on, when we look at the society where we are at right now as a society right now, and right now we are a mess. We're a complete mess. When it comes to representation, I'm starting to find, and, I spend a lot of time at home. And a lot of that time was trying to find something to do. You've played all the games that you can play. You've read all the stuff on the internet. I have to spend, when I do the show, I have to spend a lot of time on the internet, looking at stories, reading about this and that and blah, 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 to the point where I feel like my brain's going to explode sometimes. So you spend a lot of time doing that, and, to try to write in characters now as a writer, a producer, a director, what have you, they have to be more complex. You can no longer just go, I'm going to throw in the token black character or the token gay character to check off a box. Like you said earlier, to check off a box, it has to be more complicated. So I think it just makes it a bit more, for someone who's cisgendered and white, I think it makes it a little bit more of a challenge, but I think it's a challenge worth seeking because it brings out a better story. And it brings out a better story, and it also helps me grow as a person. Yes, exactly.
To get different perspective. And when I was developing the characters, one of the other things that I wanted to make sure I did was play against stereotype. Play against what's represented in the media. For instance, our black female lead character, I wanted to have her be a big focus on STEM, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Because you don't really see that represented. And, our Asian female lead, I wanted to have her be more kind of a badass and not, divulge into those terrible Asian stereotypes that there's kind of pigeonhole. So writing them against stereotype was also important. And, the feedback from the cast really helped a lot. Because I kind of just checked in with them throughout the process and say, okay, how would you say this line, or what's a better way I can phrase this?
Okay, when you are writing your gay characters as a gay man, do you think it's okay every now and then to kind of like play on the idea of stereotypes in a way?
I don't do it personally. I don't have a problem when I see it in media. I think as long as it comes from a place of truth. If you are stereotyping a character simply because you think it's funny to have them, make them have a lisp and make them be more effeminate, I find that offensive. Right, but when you have somebody like Jack from Will and Grace, I think would be a great example.
I see. That's where I think that's where we slightly differ, because, and when I say I do mean slightly, because the idea of the effeminate character, I think, has been something that's been made fun of in media for quite some time. But in gay culture, it's the effeminate character that is gay culture. On a certain level. So to figure out how to balance that line where a character can be effeminate, but it still be a solid character, I think that's the problem that media kind of has when it comes to portraying effeminate gay characters.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that a lot of that boils down to the writer's room. And the gay characters that are in this show, there are 3. And that will also kind of come down to the actors and me as a director kind of guiding them and helping them develop their characters. And, if one of the characters, vocally turns out to be effeminate, I'm not going to, change that and say, butch it up. That's just not who I am as a director, because that needs to come from a place of truth. As long as it's true to the character, then I think it will work.
Well, one of the artist drawings, actually, I thought one of your characters might be a little bit effeminate, and I think it is an African American male character. I thought might have been effeminate, which actually I was like, I think that he's going to do this right. I'm okay with it when you're a gay producer, so to write in an effeminate character, which, like I said, which when I saw the pictures that you sent me, I naturally was drawn to the black character who looked effeminate. And I don't know if maybe I don't know if that's a trans person. I don't know if that's an effeminate gay man or what have you. But I felt comfortable with the idea that if we're going to have someone who is effeminate and African American, from a gay man's perspective, I'm okay with that. And I love the fact that you said that you talked to actors when it came to who do the voice work and everything else. Is this okay to do this and that and blah 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 blah? Because I don't think, and this is from my growing up, when I have watched African American effeminate characters, I've not been very happy. And there were a few from my, I grew up in the, I'm very old school, and I've seen effeminate characters from the 80s and the 90s growing up. So when I was growing up and trying to figure out who I was as a gay man, these were the only, and they were black characters, and these were characters that I had to go, is that who I'm going to be? I'm not sure. So, when I saw one of the character drawings of someone who looked to be African American and feminine, I actually felt comfortable because I'm like, I think this is going to be done right.
Well, thank you. So the character you are referencing is unscripted gay. the intention was not to draw him effeminate, but I think it's more comes from a place of like a well-rounded character. How there's that balance, I think, in all of us, and not to deny that, and show vulnerable sides to all the characters, more sensitive sides, which could be classified or labeled as effeminate in a male character. But to really explore that spectrum of emotion that all these characters are going to go through on this show.
So, why don't you talk about the 5 main characters, your 5 heroes in this?
Sure. So we have 5 characters that are deeply flawed, and they are not labeled as heroes. They don't view themselves as heroes in any way from the get-go. We've got a character who's a thief, a character that's a hacker. The black character you were referencing earlier is actually a police officer who's kind of like the one good cop on a squad full of bad cops. We've got, our Asian character is a cage fighter, and we've also got a smuggler character in there. So they're deeply flawed, and they're not what's considered heroes. And so, the first story arc of the show is them kind of learning to find it within themselves to do the better thing, and not be so self-serving. So it's really their inner journey to find the hero within themselves.
But from reading the synopsis of the show, are we really? I mean, when we really talk about the environment that they're in and everything else, superhero kind of thing, can that really apply with the story that you have put out there for this show? Because it sounds kind of hard. It sounds kind of hardline. And I, by the way, I love it. But I love the fact that I don't know, I don't want to say anti-heroes, but I'm thinking heroes in the environment that they have to live in. And
so let's definitely talk about the environment so that everybody can kind of get a feel for where this show takes place.
Okay.
As we had talked about earlier on the show, just kind of the world we live in right now is a mess. And I wanted to amplify that. So essentially, the story takes place after a war that has just kind of decimated humanity. And there's one city that's left standing. And everybody that lives there is kind of this, it's segregated in a way that's based on their social economic status. And the people that live in the center of the city have money, they're well off, and the people that are on the outskirts are struggling. And so when I say these characters are flawed, it's because they're coming from a world where they have to do what it takes to survive. And so when you have this kind of setting where a small group of people control a large portion of the wealth, you've got to find something for everybody else to find hope in or inspiration in. And so that's where their journey as quote unquote heroes comes in, because it's their journey to learn that what they need to do is important, not for themselves, like not to redeem themselves as people, but because it's important for everybody else to see these qualities of hope and inspiration.
Are they all from the same section?
No,
I would think. Okay. I would think that they would all be. You have 7 sections, but you have 5 heroes.
Yeah, 7 sections. That's what I saw.
5 heroes. So you're
7 sectors, and everybody comes from a different point. So Sector 7 is the outskirts slum area where one of the characters is from. One of the characters is from Sector 1, so they have money and wealth, and so it's also about trying to figure out how they live together. So when I was developing this world, it came to a matter of how does this government function, and it kind of boiled down to 2 things. Right? You have people that control the money, and people that kind of enforce the population. So you have merchants and you have police, and I call them the brain and the fist. And so people don't trust the police force here. And so, if your team leader for this group is an African African American male police officer. How is the rest of the team going to trust them when the police can't be trusted in and of themselves?
Yeah.
So yeah, they all come from different parts. So it was really fun, and that was important because it gave characters relationships and a dynamic of kind of headbutting. And so when you have conflict within the characters, you have conflict in your story, and conflict is interesting because it drives your story forward.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just got an important message. Scott.
I'm sorry. Does the colors represent anything on their thing?
Their suit colors?
Yeah.
Not really. So the inspiration for the suits kind of came from the Power Ranger shows that I watched growing up.
Okay.
and so I kind of wanted to bend with that a little bit too. So one of our men is in pink.
Yeah.
I always wanted to see that growing up. One of our girls is in blue. Red traditionally has been kind of like a leader character, so that's where our black character comes in as the leader. So the colors aren't really representative of anything in particular, other than I wanted to find a scheme that would blend together nicely.
Yeah. And as far as the whole like plot thing, how were they like chosen randomly?
What do you mean?
Like to fight and stuff and be together?
So I have kind of what I call a zero season. And so it's 5 episodes, and each episode focuses on an individual character. And
Okay.
you see the same events happen through their perspective.
Okay.
So you'll see an episode with one of the characters, and you'll see it through their eyes, and then you'll see, and so they all wind up kind of in the same place at the same time, and some of their paths cross throughout each of the episodes.
Yeah.
So you see
I
how,
just don't know.
yeah, and they don't know kind of what's about to happen, and so you see each episode is from their perspective, and so that lets the audience get to know the character a little bit better,
Yeah.
and also the world and the environment that they're coming from.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I literally had a little bit of an emergency, but I've gotten it taken care of. I'm sorry I stepped away from the conversation for just a second. I'm trying to catch up. Yes.
The characters and the color schemes and how they get where they are. One of the big themes that I wanted to explore with our antagonist character, I don't want to call them a villain because I don't think they are. It's a character who is tired of the way the world is structured. And they want to kind of tear down the society in that world.
I thank you for bringing that up, because I was actually we spent so much time focusing on the 5 heroes. What the heroes, you have to have a villain. And, I really want to get into the idea. I love what you were saying, that he's not really a villain, because I think with the evolution of the whole hero villain archetype, we're starting to understand that where we used to put the villain as a cartoonish type of character. And when I say cartoonish, I mean in every genre of entertainment where there is a villain involved. When it comes to live action movies, anime, all this other stuff, villains have always been, twirling their little mustaches and that kind of thing. But now we're starting to see the evolution of the villain as a human being. And we're starting to understand motivations behind why they do the things that they do. Marvel has been pretty good at it, although Marvel has had a villain problem for a few years, with the exception of Black Panther. Marvel has had Black Panther, with the exception of Killmonger and Thanos. Marvel's had.
that's how I approach my villain writing too. I always believe that in a villain's mind, they are the hero of their own story.
Yeah, exactly. And and I think one of the greatest villains to me in in Japanese animation was from a little show called Inuyasha. Nuraku, one of the greatest villains who I consider one of the greatest villains in Japanese anime, because in this anime you have the hero who is a half demon, half human, trying to make his way in the world. The villain is a half demon, half human, trying to become a full demon. And the clash between the two and seeing the humanity on both sides made you not only sympathize with the villain, but you either really hated him, or you kind of went, I can't believe oh my God, I'm ashamed to say that I understand what he's saying. Yeah. And I love that the idea that we're getting away from the cartoonish idea of good and evil, and we're starting to see a little bit more humanity when it comes to both sides, because easily a hero can become a villain just as much as a villain can become a hero, or a villain thinks he's a hero. So I really want, we're going to take a break here in a minute because, once again, I can't afford to pay for the upgrade, right? I put a lot of money and effort into stuff, and every time I turn around, people want more money from me to do stuff. But we're gonna end up taking a break here in about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So I really want to get into the idea of your antagonist, and I love the fact that you call him an antagonist, him or her, an antagonist, not a villain. So we're going to get into that in just a few minutes, but I think we're going to go ahead and take a break because there is one thing that I need to take care of. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and I will zoom you guys back in, and we'll finish out the rest of the show. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the break button. 3, 2, 1, taking a break. And we are back. Welcome to That Little Gay Talk Show with your host, me, Joel Tatum, and Miss Charlotte Shotgun. Say hello. Hello. And we're back with Clayton.
Hello.
We're back with Clayton Younkin, and we're going to talk more about his fantastic... You know what, Clayton? I'm going to call it an anime. Can I call it an anime?
Go for it. Yeah.
Because that's everything that you have set up when it comes to your setup and everything else screams anime. It does.
Compliment.
You know, the amazing thing is that when you look elsewhere, there's 2 categories when it comes to animated shows. There's adult animation, and then there's anime. And I don't know if anybody has noticed this, but everything under adult animation is usually comedy animation. Family Guy, The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, on and on and on. They're usually categorized as adult animation. And anime is a completely different thing, which I don't understand why, because it's literally the same thing. It is literally, with the exception of the fact that it comes from Japan, it's literally the same thing. Okay, is everybody here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I felt like I was making a joke of one. No one said anything.
Well, I think the thing is, I definitely take the anime thing as a compliment. Of course, I don't want to take away from the fact that, it's. I wouldn't categorize it as that simply because it's
No, and like I said, you shouldn't. But when it comes to adult animation, especially in the States, it usually falls under comedy, and that's not what I don't. Are you comedy? I don't think that you are.
So the show's got moments of levity,
but moments of levity does not make a show a comedy. It makes it an action or a drama or something. In all those genres, you can have moments of levity. you are not a comedy. That means that you do not fall under the comedy umbrella.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. So you fall under either action, adventure, or adult animation.
And I think this would definitely fall more under adventure. And it's got elements of action, elements of comedy. It's got all these different kind of elements at play, weaving this more adventurous tale. And so, like we were talking about with the antagonist before we went to break, where the show is set in a world where society is kind of crumbled. And you have a segregated society with, people with money and power kind of control those who don't. And so for the antagonist character, their objective over the course of the first story arc is to kind of tear all that down.
Okay.
Tear down those systematic structures that were built in place to control the population.
But what makes that antagonist a villain? And you're going to have to explain that because you have 5 heroes fighting against this person. Where do they intermingle? Where do they...
So that's the question that's posed. Is are they a villain? Because as I was writing the character, I could definitely see from their point of view. Right? When you have a society that's built this way, isn't it best just to tear it down? But the conflict arises is because, in this world, this is humanity's last city. Okay. Essentially. What would be the repercussions of that? Because although it's a system, it's a terrible system that's set in place, it's also designed to keep humanity going. So that's where the conflict comes into play with our protagonist characters is this idea of freedom versus security.
Yes, which by the way I wanted to comment on because I think that you when it comes down to what I would watch, are we going to be more focused on the different districts, who lives where? How's life in those districts? Those kind of things that would make me be like, hey, I'm interested in the story of what this person is going through and that person is going through in each district. You're going to be able to break that down and be able to bring those different stories for me to come along on the ride with, because I need to come along on the ride and I need to understand why the heroes are the way that they are. So,
and so in their mindset is, you can't tear everything down without having something else to replace it with. You can't get rid of the supply chain that delivers food to the population because otherwise they're going to starve. And so if you're tearing down all of these systems of government that are set in place, you're also tearing down the things that help people survive. So that's where the conflict between the two characters or the groups of characters comes into play. Is it's not a good versus evil. It's a battle of ideals.
And how do you implant the outside world outside of the city? Because obviously stuff is going out outside of the city.
Well, so that's the thing, is that there's not. So the way I have it kind of set up is this takes place after what I call the last war, the final war. And essentially in this universe, the bee population, it started with the bee population dying out. So there's no crops. There's nothing outside of the city. And so it's kind of, I don't like to think I'm a narcissistic person, but it's almost as if you took the world we live in today and boiled it down into this microcosm of all types of people in one central location. So it's
amazing.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
So it's fighting for resources. It's fighting for the people who have power want to stay in power.
Okay. I just, it's amazing to me because I look at when I look at the castle system and the cast system at the same time, I feel as though that there is an element of fear that is keeping people from outside of the city when it comes to what's going on outside
like
of the
a
walls.
radiation or something.
Well,
Like
exactly. So
like a sphere or something.
Well,
so
not
the city is protected through this kind of containment field that protects it from radiation, and so people have ventured outside and never come back. So there's also the question of, is everyone being lied to, or is it safe to go outside? And so so there's all these kind of strings in play, and I feel like I've written it in a way that reveals to the audience what they need to know when they need to know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's I come from this writing perspective of what's called planting and seeding. So I plant an idea and I seed it throughout. So it's like, hey, here's a reminder that this thing is going to be important. This thing is going to be important, and then you finally get the payoff. So it's not just like these story points are coming in out of nowhere.
So you're going to throw us a red herring in there every now and then.
There may be one or two. Definitely the antagonist character, their identity is secretive up until the penultimate climax of the first story arc. And so it's always going to be kind of this guessing game because there are several secondary characters that kind of come in and out throughout the story. And so is it a question of trust? So we've got a lot of really cool stuff in store. And the way it's set up is that we're going to record everything all at once it's safe to record, and then release these episodes every week.
Oh wow.
We have 52 episodes written, so it's going to be
you have
one
50
episode a week for a year.
You have 52 episodes already done?
52 episodes are written, and it covers 4 different story arcs.
Okay. Tell us
they're not produced though, right? They're not like made?
Right, they're not made because we had a space ready to go to record back in July, and the day before we were supposed to go in, we got an email saying that our reservation was canceled. And I understand where they're coming from, because some new information about COVID was released, and they weren't comfortable with people being inside the space. So everything is drawn, everything is written. The only thing we've got to do left is record.
You just have to do you just have to do the voice work for honestly, what studio are you going to be using here in Houston to be able to do that?
So we looked at just all use spaces, and then I've got recording equipment and things like that. Spaces where we can have our cast of 9 plus me. So once things kind of settle down and are safe again, then we'll go back to the drawing board as finding a location.
Well, I would like to hope that, and if it would be possible, if Miss Charlotte and I could sit in on one of those and talk to you guys about what you're doing at that moment, because I feel like I cannot wait until you guys actually sit down and do the voice work for the show, and to see how voice acting works, because I've never seen. I know that I thought that there was. No, I might be mistaken. I thought this was a thing, but I thought that there was a studio that did do dubbing work here in Houston.
There is. It's Sentai Filmworks.
Yes, thank you. I kept arguing with people that there is a place here in Houston that does dubbing work when it comes to anime and that kind of stuff here in Houston. So, I went and did some auditions and readings at Funimation in Dallas. And they were like, well, unfortunately, you live too far to be on call, but have you, done anything with Sentai Filmworks? And I didn't even know about them. Yes. But they don't do outside open casting calls through voice acting agencies, which I'm not a part of at the moment. But, just just to sit down and watch you guys do the work and do that kind of thing. Can we please be invited to that? Because I would love to see how you guys are gonna. I would love to see that. I think I would love to sit down and watch you guys do the whole thing.
Thank you. Once, like I said, once it's safe for us to kind of be in a space.
Of course.
The other thing is that we're kind of on a time crunch. Actually, one character who has not been announced yet because they come in at a later story arc. But that actor was hired, and they actually had to move. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, I cannot.
We'll have to look for a replacement when the time comes. But we also have other actors that are out of town, are also moving out, to LA. So we're hoping to get this done, and we don't have to do any recasting, just because I looked really hard at finding actors I felt fit the roles, and I found a great group of actors and actresses. So, hopefully I can stick with the cast I've got, and we can get in a space soon.
So wait a minute. So how were you able to get a cast together with this small idea? I mean, you literally came up with an idea 9 months ago. And here we are, and you have you had a composer. I'm like, how does he have a composer for a show he literally just started doing? How does he have all this stuff going on? So
with the cast, when I was designing the characters, I could kind of hear how I wanted them to sound in my head. And so I looked at students that I had that have graduated years ago,
of course,
that are still acting or wanting to get back into acting. I looked at actors that I've worked with in shows around town. So I didn't really audition anybody. It was people who I felt could represent that character's voice well. So that's kind of how I got the cast together, and they all agreed to it, which has been fantastic, and they've all been so supportive. So I really found the right cast, and I want to make sure we can record in enough time where I can keep the cast that I have. But of course, if outside circumstances happen and I have to recast, I'll kind of think of who I can use. If not, we'll hold some outside auditions for people in the area. It's been a lot of just kind of figuring out what pieces I need, what music, what do I want the music to sound like, or what do the 3D graphics need to look like. So it's been a lot, like you said. And
getting actors who are used to being the face on a stage or screen or what have you, to do voice work for animation, is that different? To get
it's a different skill set.
Is that a different skill set?
Yes, because with acting on TV, film, or on stage, you also have your facial expressions,
of course,
your body to kind of tell the subtext. But with voice acting, you have one tool, and that is your voice, and you've got to convey everything with your voice. So I looked at actors that I think vocally have a nice range and can really color the lines in a way that bring characters to life.
Which is when you look at when you do an audition and you're looking at someone who is auditioning for a character, and you're looking at that character as a drawing. How do you figure out which person is going to be great for which character? I mean, how do you literally look at a drawing and listen to a voice and connect the two?
Well, a lot of it had to do with me working with these people in the past and knowing what they're capable of. And then some of it came with when I was doing, kind of the character drafts and finalizing what they look like and writing out the dialogue. How do I want them to sound? And so it was a matter of matching up what I heard in my head with what I know these actors can deliver.
Because, the amazing thing is that you said something earlier, and I didn't catch it until later. I also remember that I met you in Houston Gamers. So the thing is that you said something about RPGs and everything else, and I looked at your characters and I thought, make a fantastic video game. It would make a fantastic video game with still the themes and the stories that you have, and being able to pick between who I wanted to be along the LGBTQIA rainbow would actually be kind of fun. I think that when it comes to certain characters, if you only had a certain character set up, and I could be anybody in the LGBTQIA rainbow, to be able to set those characters up, I think it would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
By the way, and I suggest that because if you want to do a video game later of this, you might want to think about that.
That I don't have right now, but it could be in the works. And yeah, so like I said, talking about representation and people watching the show and finding characters they connect with. So we've got, our character our hero that falls in the LGBTQ rainbow. We've got our, Asian character, and we've got our Black character, and we've got our Hispanic Latinx character. So again, just finding people that other people can connect with. Super important.
So you know what? I think I think we've had a great show.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me on.
Yeah, I know. We've had a wonderful show. We have learned so much, and the fact that this is, oh my God, I know. As much as I wanted to make fun of you so many times because you said, "Oh, I'm from Dallas," and I'm like, "Oh, I gotta hold my tongue." I'm gonna hold my tongue because he's here in Houston, so I'm not gonna make any jokes about the fact that he was born in Dallas. I'm sorry, were you born in Dallas or did you just live in Dallas?
Yeah.
Born in Dallas. He was born in Dallas, and he had to come to Houston. You know what it's like for a Dallasite to have to come to Houston. It's hilarious. And I'm from outside of the state, so I know I love the idea of watching Houstonians and what do you guys call yourself at Dallas? Dallasites like go back and forth with friendly. I would like to think that it's friendly competition, but sometimes you girls, y'all are. Sometimes that competition can be a little rough. But watching you guys go back and forth, it's fun. And you know what? Like I said, to see a community starting to happen here in Houston, to know that the growth here is possible, and to know that you're doing animation. I know you're from Dallas and everything else, but to see you trying to put that out, I cannot wait to see it on YouTube. And I can't wait until YouTube.
The recording studio. I'll make sure to let you guys know so you can come see the session.
And by the way, you're going to end up going to Netflix, right? Y'all need to get y'all shit together because you could be on Netflix. I'm serious. Y'all could be on Netflix. Just get the idea together and tell them what you need, and they'll do it for you. You'll be on Netflix in no time. You'll be on.
Let's get ourselves established on YouTube first.
Okay, let me tell you something, Clayton. You went from 9 months ago. You were just an actor who was just doing your thing. You came up with an idea for something, and you brought it to this. You brought it this far. You could be on Netflix in 3 or 4 months if you really put your. You realize that you could put it on YouTube for 2 weeks, and Netflix will offer you $50 million to put it on your show. You better. They can offer you $50 million to be on their network, and all you need is 1 season. That's literally all you need, and you're set for life. Although I would like to think that you could be a long-going. You could be the next. Your show could be like One Piece or something, where you're on the air for 20 years,
500 episodes.
with 500 episodes.
Oh my God.
And oh yes, I went back and tried. All my friends were like, "Joel, you need to watch One Piece." And then I looked up One Piece, and I'm like, "Where do I even begin?" There's too many episodes.
That's a time commitment.
That's
for sure.
yeah. If I were to sit down and watch every One Piece episode, it would take me 5 years to get caught up. I'm not spending 5 years of my life. I don't.
How many seasons is that?
Oh, what are they on season?
Are they still making
20? 30? I don't. They've been on for quite some time.
Oh wow.
Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have enough time on this earth to try to watch all the seasons. You guys have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time. I can only watch 2 or 3 seasons of something and be okay with it, but I'm not going to watch 20 years of a show. I'll be in a nursing home by the time that show ends.
I feel you.
And you bitches will be in your late 40s still watching that show. So I'm not doing that. Anywho, I think that, oh Lord, Charlotte, you are laying on Charlotte, you are laying on your, what are you laying on, girl? Is that a pillow?
I'm on my bed is like a chair.
Your bed is like a chair.
Yeah, It's like a giant chair.
I'm sitting here in the dark, and all you can see is my teeth.
I know.
I know. All you can see is my teeth. I think and I'm not even that dark. I'm a beautiful.
Yeah, I think we can just see your shirt, and there's a
yes,
screen
exactly. You can only see my shirt. Zoom is racist. Zoom. I'm not that dark. Good Lord.
No, it's not. It's funny.
I know. So,
I've slowly been watching the graduate change in the past 30 minutes.
Oh, Clayton, we have had such a great time with you. I didn't want to.
Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yes, thank you. You know, the thing is that I didn't want to give too much away of your show because I want people to be excited about your show. When? Oh my God! Please send me the link as soon as that show comes out.
Yep, we'll definitely be posting stuff on our Instagram. So if your listeners want to check us out, it's Neon Lights Cast on Instagram. And we're also doing tons of giveaways, and we're doing ways to connect with the community. So be sure to look us up, and as soon as we know something, we will definitely be posting and celebrating.
Okay. And by the way, can me and Charles? Can me and Charlotte have some kind of insider thing when that happens? That would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. So we don't have to hang out with the masses, so to speak.
I'm definitely down.
Oh, good Lord, you got to work it. So yes, so we're gonna call it a day because I know that if we're on amazingly enough, I'm sitting here in the studio by myself. I'm on Zoom. I saw Miss Charlotte lay in her bed because she's not feeling good. I saw Clayton's husband walking inside on the background.
Yeah.
Which means, everybody's got stuff to do, so we have to call it a day. So everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you to our sponsor, Tubi's Woodworking, for supporting the show and everything else. Tubi's Woodworking, just go to the end of our page, that little gaytalks.com. Click on the link. If you want to get a cutting board, 20% off, he will make you a personalized cutting board for you. Anything else that you want to throw in, Miss Charlotte?
Don't forget to wear a mask and drink lots of water.
Drink lots of water. Don't forget to wear a mask. Clayton, anything you want to end this show with?
Just again, thank you, and I appreciate all the support you've given the show. It's our launch 2 weeks ago.
Well, guess what? We're going to give it more support because we're going to be supporting your show and your thing for quite some time. So I cannot wait to put all the pictures out. I can't wait to put all the stuff out, and I want everybody to just to watch, just to know that our community is going to be represented, and you're going to make that happen. It's going to be a wonderful thing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So we will see you next time.
See ya.
All right.